Okay everybody, here we are. This is my charger. Now the problem we're having, hopefully you can hear me over this. You can hear the kind of grinding, gurgling, metallic noise. You can also hear the injectors pulsing, that tick, 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 tick. But that grinding noise is not normal. And I believe that is coming from right down in here. I believe that is inside the timing cover. And I think the timing chain tensioner is malfunctioning and the timing chain is flopping around. So right now the car is not being driven, because if that timing chain let loose, that engine would detonate. But that noise is not a normal noise, and it is getting louder every time I start the car. So what we need to do is to start by taking everything apart. We're going to take off the air ductwork, the air box. Then we're going to work on the pulleys and everything down below, and the cooling system, and everything gets to come apart on the front of the engine. So let's go ahead and get started there. Okay everybody, so it is a few days later since the video trying to show you guys the noise on my charger. Now I decided to do what I should have done in the first place, which was, instead of just jumping on the fact that it was the timing chain, is to take a step back, take a breath, and assess the situation. So, horrible, loud, grindy noise sounded like the timing chain, but it could have been other things too. And thankfully, because I did take that step back, I found out what it was. And it's not the timing chain. It's actually the water pump. And so, again, being a few days later, the parts should be here tomorrow. But for today, we're going to get the water pump off. And I'm going to show you how to do that and go through that here. And I'm going to show you right now how I figured out it was the water pump. First, I started by taking the belt off. And then I went inside and I started the car, and the noise wasn't there. So I immediately knew it was one of the pulleys. So I went pulley by pulley until I found the one that was, well, worn. And it's the water pump, and I'll show you that right now. Alright, so right here is the water pump. And it's going to be kind of hard to do. But you see how the pulley there is moving around? Yeah, it's not supposed to do that. And when I spin it, I can hear the bearings grinding. So I ordered a new water pump. Should be here tomorrow. But for now, we're going to go ahead and get this project started. Now I should have done this right away and not just assumed the worst off. But sometimes when you get focused on a plethora of other things, that's just what happens. Okay, so we're going to start by taking off the air tube here. Unplug it. Got an upper and lower radiator hose to get off, and some water pump bolts, and that's pretty much it. And we're going to lose a lot of coolant. So now we have a much better shot here at the water pump. The one pipe I am concerned about is this metal pipe here. This pipe right here that is attached to the water pump there goes all the way down under and to the back. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I'm assuming there's just a rubber O-ring, and that should pull out. But we gotta get rid of that, get rid of the upper hose, get rid of the lower hose that's way down there, and take off all the bolts and pull her out. Alright everybody, had to go feed the chickens. So I'm going to try to do this holding the camera, because I'm not going to be able to get anything down in there or get it near it where you guys can actually see what I'm doing. So we're going to start by getting rid of this clamp here. Now those clamps require a special tool like this. It's actually made for these clamps. So let's see if I can get it in here. If not, that means that I'm going to have to just use the pliers, which I assume will probably happen on the bottom one if I can't get to it. Alright, maybe I can try to set it. Now this is as wide as it'll open. Get off me, you stupid ply. Well, crapola. Oh, I got it open just a bit more. Definitely not easy with one hand, but I just set you guys down, so we'll see if we can do it that way. Alright. There go. See if I can get this pliers to set. There we go. Now we take my fancy dancy hose pick. It's basically just a long pick that's bent at 90 degrees to try to separate the bond between the hose and the thermostat coupler. But this one is quite on there. I may have to just try to gently, ever so gently, try to break the bond with my pliers, because I don't want to replace this. I spent enough money on the cars lately. There we go. There. Okay. Oops, you guys fell down. Fall down, go boom. Alright, so this is gonna let a lot of coolant out, I think. And don't worry, I have a tray below the car. Or not. Well, that's all the better then. But I know when I pull this water pump off, there should be a good splash down below into the catch pan. Alright. So that one's off. And I'm sorry guys, I can't tell how well the how well you guys can see. Lighting, not spectacular. Being outside, the problem is, this is the problem. Here's my car. There's the Mitsubishi. There's the golf cart. And there's the Monster. And they all need things done to them. But the problem is that Mitsubishi, which is a thorn in my side, the bane of my existence that I want gone more than, well, most things, is still there. I'm not sure whether you're going to see part of the video for that car, before or after this video. I guess we're just going to see how things go as I edit and how things go as I work on that thing. Because, yeah, I really liked that car until recently. Trying to fix it has been not fun. But I guess that's on me, considering I let it sit for 5 years. So, yeah. Anyways, because of that, there's no room for anything, because the Thunderbird is in that bay and my Mustang is in that bay. And I'm not even sure if you guys have even seen the Mustang. I don't think you have. Anyway, it's my very first car. It is a 1980 Mustang, and I plan on putting a T-top roof on it, which I also have in the barn. But that's another day. And that's another project right there. So, what we're on today is my charger. And because I'm outside, lighting sucks. And I'm hoping you guys can see what I can see. Now, I'll tell you what, I better not have to take the fan package out. That mess. I better not have to take that out to get that lower radiator hose out. Or I am going to be a very unhappy camper. But let's see about getting that clamp off. Now it is extremely unlikely that I can get that clamp using my clamp tool. But yeah. Hold on. I'll be right back. I'm gonna see if I can actually just get this on here. And we'll go from there. Okay, everyone. Well, you know how I've said there's always one when you're working on something? There's always one bolt, one nut, one something that causes problems. So here we are. I'm trying to get you guys down where you can see. Do you see this tab here? Does it look like it's smashed down, almost touching that clamp? Let me show you what it looks like. That's what it's supposed to look like, sticking up. But that one is not. That one is almost completely smashed down. And guess what? The other side of the clamp is the exact same way. So, what happened here was somebody already was in here and decided that once they put the clamp down, it was going to interfere with the belt. So instead of moving the clamp, they just hammered the tabs down. They just hammered the tabs down. I don't have words. Because this clamp is now going to have to be cut off if I cannot grab onto those with a wrench. So let me see what I can do. And then we will come to a picture of what this looks like about getting this off. Okay, everyone, here we are. Now I brought some light in so we can see better. And you can see that that tang is bent over. It's bent over on the other side too. And well, you know, I've said this so many times. I just don't understand. If you don't know what you're doing, would you please either ask someone or bring it to a shop? Because the reason that tang is bent over is because it would directly interfere with the run of the belt. So instead of doing the right thing, whoever was in here last, and putting the clamp back where it belongs, they just decided to hammer the tangs over. That way it wouldn't cut the belt. Well, by doing that, I can't get this clamp off. So you can see there's a groove in the clamp now because I'm using a micro Dremel to try to cut this off. And it's taking a while because it's a micro Dremel. And it's just, man, is it just frustrating sometimes, guys. Like, seriously. Yeah, I can't even get my hands in there with my Dremel and the camera together. So I'm going to have to cut this off. And I'll come back once I get it cut. Alright, everybody, so you can see there, I have two very nice notches in the clamp. But you can see I'm also starting to cut into the hose, which obviously is a bad thing and will weaken the hose. So now I'm going to take a chisel and see if I can just break the remaining metal off. Let me see if I can give you guys a kind of what I'm doing here. The problem being is this is a micro Dremel. And micro Dremels have a top speed of maybe 2000 RPM. That is not enough to cut anything. The first tang has been cut through after a half an hour, guys. I am about to cut through the second one, but I'm destroying the hose in the process thanks to whoever did this. So now I'm gonna have to order a new hose probably. Please, people, please, if you're watching this and you don't know what you're doing, ask for help. We're glad to help you. That way mistakes like this don't happen. Alright, I'm going to get back to trying to get this off, and I will come back when it's done. Okay, everybody. So, having to cut that clamp off took a half an hour. And part of it is still on there. So, well, the rest I can't get off. So I guess we're just going to go ahead and see how far I can get. This should be an hour job. Half an hour off, half an hour on, and done. Yeah, it's not going to be that. That hose is proof of that. I don't know why, guys, but these cars are just cursing me or something. So what I'm doing right now is I'm unbolting the idler pulley. Then I'm going to unbolt the tensioner pulley. I wasn't sure if I was going to take these off or not, but because I have to get to the bolts behind them, they have to come off. Ah, they make this bolt a mile long. Oh, wonderful. I'll never see that again. Okay. There's the idler. Absolutely nothing wrong with that one. Perfect condition. Tensioner, let's see if this is right or left-handed threads. Okay. Right-handed threads. Like everything should be. Sometimes they, depending on torque of a directional torque, a company may put left-handed threads on an item to keep it from coming off. Fall allergies are starting to kick in. I get more allergies in the fall than I do in the spring. Oh, come on. This is the time I would like an electric ratchet. I mean, I might invest in one in the future, but for now, there's just, it's not beneficial. Alright. Now I hear a little noise out of this tensioner, so I might have to order one. Or the pulley anyway. And there is a little bit of slop in there. So we'll see. But the water pump for sure is bad. And let's get that taken care of. Looks like I'm gonna have a, yep, those are 13s. I got a 10 here on the side, and the rest look like they're probably 14s or 15s, probably 14s, unless they don't look like it, but are they? Oh, yeah, I was wrong, guys, except for this one. This one looks bigger. But that is part of the timing cover, it looks like, and is not a bolt for the water pump. Now I'd love to upgrade the throttle body to a 90mm. I believe that's the upgrade. I think this is an 80 or an 85. I'd have to look at it again. It's been a while since I looked at it, and there's a really nice throttle body. Of course, I can't remember the maker for some stupid reason, but they want about $500 for it, so yep, it looks like that tube is just popping right out. So, let's see if I can get it the rest of the way out. I can't tell. It looks like maybe the tube is all the way up now, so I might have to get the bolts out. Alright, get the thermostat off. It probably doesn't need to come off, but it's probably going to be in the way of something, so and yes, again, I have a pan below the car to catch all the coolant. I'm not one of those people that lets chemicals from a vehicle just go wherever. Especially on my farm. That's what I thought. There's no gasket here, but it states there's supposed to be one, so I guess I'm gonna have to look further, because the gasket should just be the rubber ring on the thermostat. It doesn't look too awful bad, but it is a little sticky. Anyways, I got a new one coming. Now it's a matter of trying to see where all the bolts are. This should be interesting. See if I can feel the bottom ones first. It would be nice if they were all the same length, but I highly doubt that's going to happen. There's another one below that. And I love working with coolant hands. They're so sticky. Gets everything sticky and slimy. Yeah, I knew it. That is a super long bolt. Alright, so we're just going to leave the bolts in for now as I take them out. Try to feel my way around. Got one almost directly below the water pump drive. I suppose I could probably break out my repair book and take a look at the picture. Might help, but that's all the way in the house, and I don't feel like going all the way back up to the house to get it. Alright, so I'm going to take out the bolts that are the shorter bolts, and then any of the ones that will be left will just be the long bolts. So this should be interesting. Alright, so that one's out. Looks like we got two more over here. Another one below where the tensioner mounts. And then there is another one that is actually behind the power steering pulley. So that one should be quite interesting on trying to figure out how it comes out. I'm probably gonna have to get a wrench on that. Yes, if I get. It's so close, but yet so far. And it doesn't help that I have sticky, slimy coolant hands to try to spin a bolt out. And I'm trying to bend my wrist 180 degrees backwards to do it. You know, there are benefits to new cars, and there are not benefits to new cars. You know, it's nice to get all this easy horsepower and fuel efficiency, but you get it at a cost of cramming everything together like a Jenga puzzle. Meanwhile, a car like my Thunderbird or my Mustang, everything is right there in front of you. But of course, not always at a horsepower rating that's worth a darn. I think my Mustang had it was a 50302. 1982 was the one I had with the 5.0 in it. 302 cubic inch engine. Had, I think, just around 150 horsepower. So half a horsepower per cubic inch is pathetic and sad. But that was the time of the EPA and fuel efficiency standards. So car makers back then didn't know how to make horsepower and be fuel efficient yet. So people's cars got sacrificed for the EPA, the Environmental Polluting Agency. Yes, I have no love for the EPA whatsoever. They have caused so much harm to this planet. I don't like tapping on things with actual hammers, but it is quite stuck on. So I'm wondering, no, wait, yup, Yep. I missed one. Right tucked in there. Ugh. Oh, another somewhat long one there. I bet this center stud here holds the whole thing together. Yep, I can hear the coolant in the back running out. Oh, that is dirty. Look at that. Oh boy. This cooling system is just gross, guys. And the problem is that hose is hooked up. And that's, well, no problem. And that goes below there. Good thing I got all this on video. Not sure I'd remember how it all goes. Now the problem is getting this clamp off of here. Alright guys, so what is the old adage? When all else fails, get a bigger hammer. Well, in this case, I'm getting a bigger Dremel with the snake attachment on it. And we're going to cut the rest of that clamp off because it's not coming off. There's no way to get it off without cutting it apart. Guys, this is a fiberglass reinforced cutting wheel. This will cut through anything. I don't know what that clamp is made out of, but holy moly. Let's make cars out of it and safes out of it, because that's crazy. There's another piece. There's the back piece. Wow, that is just nuts. Now I can get this hose off of here. Well, it's loose. There we go. Oh, muddy coolant. Now, that coolant is not supposed to be brown. It wasn't yellow, but it's not supposed to be brown. Okay. Alright, guys. Again, super bright out, very hard to see. Can't even barely see the screen of the camera. This is the inside of my water pump. This is not supposed to move. Look at that. Yeah. This is a plastic impeller. Mine is going to come with a metal impeller. Typical rubber gasket. No big deal there. But if you look here, you can see the pulley there. But you can see I can wobble the impeller and it wobbles the pulley. So this water pump is completely junk. So new water pump on the way. We'll be here tomorrow, and we will pick this up tomorrow. Okay everybody, it is the next day and my parts have shown up, and we're gonna go and get these installed and get everything put back together. So first I'm gonna show you what I got. This is the new water pump. As you can tell, this pulley doesn't move like the other one. That is metal and not plastic. Now, funny enough, the old water pump has a Mopar stamp on the water neck. So maybe it is factory and maybe they use plastic impellers. I don't know, but I don't want a plastic impeller. I want one that's gonna, well, not blow apart. This is what you would consider a cheapo water pump. I got this off Amazon. I got it from a company called A Premium, who does make all sorts of different car parts. This wasn't the cheapest, this wasn't the most expensive, but this does have something on it that the others don't. This has a 1-year unlimited mile warranty. As such, this is the one I chose to go with. Everything here looks intact. I've already checked it out. I've also checked out the height of the impeller. Now, I've seen other people that say, well, the impeller's not flush, it won't fit on my car. Well, then there's something wrong with your car, or it's not the right pump, because all of them from the Hemi look like this, because there's a cutout inside the timing cover for this impeller. So this is the right one. This will fit. Alright, so as you can see, the surface is clean, free of debris, free of everything, including the pipe, and all those lines you see are not gouges in the aluminum. So we have that. We also have that, as I was showing you. Now, that is really no more than a surface scratch, and it's really not more than 1 millimeter deep. So I don't believe there is any kind of issue that will arise from this, considering all of that is actually going to sit on the collar of the water pump. So let's get started here and get this back together. Now I'm hanging my light from my hood latch. I went to put it on the hood, and well, it doesn't stick. That would explain why that area there on my hood isn't rusting. This hood is aluminum. But we need to get this done. See where the sun is, guys? It's already in the trees, just barely above the middle treetops. And up here in Minnesota, well, it's actually, I think, right around 6 o'clock. So if you can believe that, that's what I'm dealing with. And I've said recently a few times that that it's just impossible to get things done now. And now hopefully you guys understand why. When I generally work till 6:30, I actually took the afternoon off. But when it gets dark an hour after I get off work, how am I supposed to get things done? Now, yeah, I have a barn, but there's cars in it, including the Mitsubishi, which is going to be coming out in the next day or two, sure, but things have to get done. Winter is upon us, and I don't have time. I am actually 2 months behind schedule so far. So, yeah, sometimes we just have to go with the punches and do what we have to do to make things get done. Alright, so here we are. Vaseline. And no, that's not what you think it's for. It's even worse. Here's another unforgivable sin according to some of the gearheads. Now, here's the deal. I don't like doing things more than once. And if I try to put this metal tube into the water pump without finding some way to lube up that O-ring a little bit, it's not going to fit. It's going to collapse and get cut, and I will be out of luck and be doing this a whole nother day after I get more parts. So what I'm doing is putting a little bit of Vaseline on that O-ring. Let the jokes begin. That way, when I work to put the water pump and put this metal pipe in the water pump hole, it fits. Now, let's see what I can do for you guys, because I know half the stuff here, half the stuff I'm doing you're having a hard time seeing, not only because it's dark, because it's hidden. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I'm taking a look at how the hose sits in relevance to the water pump. So when you put a hose clamp on, it can go on a couple different ways, and you want to make sure that you're going to get it on, you know, what direction and what clocking, where you can get to this 5/16 or standard fitting. So with the water pump on, I want to make sure that the clamp isn't going to be sticking out here in the area where the belt goes. So what I want to probably try to do is make it so make it so when I tighten it down that I can get to that screw head there. Now, I'm also probably going to be cutting this excess off to keep it out of the way of the belt, but I think we're going to try clocking it this way first, so it's like that. So I'm going to go ahead, put this on the hose. Yeah, we're just going to let that slide down. I'm not putting the thermostat in yet. I don't need to put the thermostat in yet, but what I do need to do is to put the gasket in. So we have a new type of gasket. See, I'm not used to these rubber gaskets yet because I just don't own too many new cars. But this is the standard type of gasket that you're going to see now on a lot of vehicles, is a formed fitting rubber gasket. And not only is it not paper, so it won't get waterlogged, but it's rubber, a rubber polymer compound, so it has spring back and will last for a very long time. And so for this one in particular, it looks like it just goes like this. And you can see it's got little nubs all the way around it that will clamp in into this little track that the gasket sits in. And you can see how much the gasket protrudes out of the water pump. That way when I tighten it down, all this will get squished down and compressed so there won't be any leaks. So this is the first bolt that's going to go in. And the reason why is because this bolt is roughly dead center of the water pump. And this will help me get the water pump in place. That way I can start getting the rest of the bolts down. But first, we need to get it down far enough where I can get the metal pipe that goes in that hole. I'm gonna start by getting what I'm doing right now is I'm putting that lower coolant hose on. And then I'm getting the water pump set up to go over that metal pipe. And what I want to start doing now is I'm pretty close to center. So I'm going to sit and fumble around till I find that bolt. And I'm going to go ahead and thread it in. Just snug so it sits there and I can still move the pump around. Now, this pipe right here, I'm hoping you can see it. It has to be pushed down into the pump. I'm hoping this is not going to be frustrating, but we're going to find that out. Yeah, perfect. Look at that, guys. Went right straight down in. No problems. That's the kind of fix I like. But the other kind of fix that I don't like is that I don't remember where all the bolts, where the long ones and the short ones go. I'm sad. So this is probably not going to be fun. Some of them I know where they go, but not all of them. Alright, so we got 5 long ones. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 short ones. And the center stud, which is a long one. So there's 11 total. I guess this is going to be found out by putting bolts in and seeing if they thread down or not. So I'm going to back this center stud out just a hair so I can move this around. Alright, so this one is right where it's supposed to be. And if I remember right, yep, see that one's a long one because it went all the way in. So I guess that's going to be the way to tell, is if it, yep, see that's way too long there, so this one's going to be a short one. Of course, with that pipe there, it makes it just oh so easy for this to work. I imagine this one's going to be just oh so fun. Alright, so this is actually a really nice vice grip from Irwin, where it's just got a sliding button. Now, What the Rust also was sent one of these, not by me, but he's got one of these now and he just swears by it, and so do I. This is one of the best channel locks I have ever seen. Of course mine's a little worn and rusty by now, but I think they are way better than the adjustable channel locks that you have to lift up and out and do that. This gives you so much more workaround. And no, I'm not sponsored by them. I just like their product. What's really going to be interesting is I should actually probably just get the, what did I say these were, guys? Are these 13s or 15s or? Yeah, 13s. Okay, I need a 13 wrench. Okay, so I can't find my 13. I'm hoping that all I'm trying to do is just get this to spin some. It's not the easiest to get this turning. I guess pulling that pipe out helps. Okay, now I'm also assuming, nope, see that one goes all the way down, so that one is a long one. And yes, there should be a torque spec for this too. I'll have to look that up after I'm done here snugging the bolts up. Next, that's a short one over there too. We're running out of short ones. We're gonna figure this out one way or another, everybody. Alright, and that is all 11 bolts. Now, when I start to feel tension, I'm stopping, because that means the cover is starting to seal. Alright, now that all the bolts are snugged down, I'm going for a second roll, and I'm stopping when it stops, because that means it's tight up against the block or the timing cover, and I need to get out the torque gun. torque wrench. Alright, now we'll do the 15 in the center. And now I gotta go look up the torque, so I will be right back. Alright guys, so the torque for the water pump bolts is 21 foot-pounds, and for the water for the thermostat housing, it's 112 inch-pounds. Now I don't have an inch-pounds wrench, but I'll show you how to calculate that aside. But we got 21 foot-pounds on here. Alright, so you can see that 20 line there. Right now I'm at 10. If you can see, the 0 is right at the bottom of the 10 line. So what we want to do is just go around your number till you get back to the initial 0. There's a 0 on each side that represents halfway. So this is now at the 20. And then we go one more. So that's now 20. It's really hard to get good light when it's dark out. 21. And there was really no good bolt pattern that I saw, so we're just gonna kind of go crisscross stuff like that. And it'll work. 13.5 is pretty much the same size. I thought I had my 13, but I grabbed a half. So let's go ahead and get this handled up. Now I'm not, as you can hear, I'm not going to click. What I want to do is just kind of walk my way around it first, I guess. Alright, so let's go for the click. I think I'm just going to go around. Really? Otherwise it just might get too confusing. Alright, now we got the center one left. See, sometimes they might trick you like that. Okay guys, that's what I'm gonna explain why I went for that last pass even though I said I was done. And that was because of how that center bolt jerked, snugged. So I want to make sure that the other bolts, so that when I tightened this one down, it didn't loosen any of the others by pulling it tighter. Alright, so that is done. Now we got a 10mm bolt here that holds this transfer pipe down to the front cover. And before we forget, I got this clamp to put on down here. This one right here, I need to clamp around the collar. Alright, and it's going to be hard for you guys to see what I'm seeing. I mean, I can barely see what I'm seeing. So, right now, let's see. Now, we just want to keep that away from the belt. Okay, so now here we go. You can see down there that the clamp is on, but you also see there that the clamp is very close to the belt drive. So that little section of clamp that's sticking up, this right here, that's gonna have to be cut off, so I need to go grab something to cut that with. Well, it's not the most clean cut, but you know what? It'll do the job. Alright, and here we are at the thermostat housing. Now I said that was 112 inch-pounds, and I don't have an inch-pounds wrench yet, but I do have a foot-pounds wrench. And inch-pounds are just basically times 12. So, if you want to divide that, you take 112 inch-pounds divided by 10 is about 9. Let's see. 120 divided by 10 is 12. So that would be 120 would be 10 foot-pounds. So right around 9 foot-pounds is roughly close enough. So what I would do in this case is, and keep in mind this is not 100% accurate, but as you can see, like I showed you before, the torque wrench goes in ones. So if we go back down to 10, and then we go down one more, that would be 9. Now, technically these foot-pound torque wrenches don't go down that far. Is it recommended? It's not 100% accurate that way, but it's all you got when that's all you got. So that's what we're doing. So here is the new thermostat from Stant. Stant is pretty much the only company that's worth a darn when it comes to thermostats. That pops right in there like that. And you can see the protrusion there also. We have the water jacket neck that, oof, looks like I should run that down a second. Okay. Much better. Alright, so now we're just going to take this cover thing here and we're going to run the bolts through it. And then we're going to run this bolt through it. And we are losing daylight faster than Santa Claus delivering presents on Christmas Eve. Yikes. And now we are going to take our torque wrench that is 1,000,000% spec'd at 9 foot-pounds. Not really, but close enough. And we're going to run it down till it torques at close enough 9 foot-pounds. And this being a thermostat housing, I'm going to make sure to go down as evenly as I can on both sides before I apply the close enough torque of 9 foot-pounds. Come on, man. Just give me some of that, man. The reason this is taking so long to thread down is, remember, there's that rubber gasket that's protruding, and it is being crushed as we speak as I tighten this down. Okay, so we are definitely down. Okay. As you can see, that took barely any movement. So that is what I would call close enough 9 foot-pounds. Then we are going to take the radiator, the upper radiator, and clamp that down there just like that. And we're going to take this fancy dancy radiator tool to clamp down on this fancy dancy clamp. Now, you know, I've watched Rain Man Ray do these before, and he's got kind of an interesting perspective on clamps as to where you should try to clock your clamps the same way they came off. So instead of, you know, these tabs being over here, because that's where you feel like putting it, make sure you put it where it came off of, because the clamp has pressed into the hose, and if you put different varying pressures around, it may leak. So in this case, yes, I did follow the same way that he did for this particular clamp, and I set it exactly where it came off of. Okay, so now we be on to the idler pulley and the tensioner. Then we can get said fan belt back on here. Put the air box back in here, or put the air tube back in here. And get her back on the road. Well, and as for the idler and the tensioner pulleys, I'm certain there is probably some torque spec to these. However, I have never torqued these before, and I don't intend to start now. So I think that the best action is no action. Oh, that is a 15. I thought that was a 13. Oh, okay then. Well, and I understand that this may not be the most perfect lighting, perfect video, perfect everything, but as I said, I'm losing light fast, and when I only have X amount of hours to work in a day, I have to take it how I can get it. And as you guys saw last fall, last winter, I spent most of my time working in the dark. And it's not conducive, I'll tell you that. Alright, that's perfectly torqued. It's not the most conducive, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Suppose I should feed my chickens their supper. Yeah, there we go, perfectly torqued. And not to forget the plug here for the temperature. And let's see, done. Upper and lower radiator connected, crossover pipe connected, idler connected, tensioner connected, water pump connected. Everything is on and torqued down. My nose is frozen and running because it's starting to get cold out at night. And I have a belt that I have to put on now. I need a wrench for that. Alright, so this is the Finger Breaker 5000. So let's see if she's lined up still. Really? This thing is so junk, it never works anymore. Yep, okay. So the Finger Breaker 5000 is ready to go, and cut my fingers off by trying to get this belt on. Now, you know, back when I was a tot, there was diagrams on these cars that told you how to put your belt on. Well, let's take a look here and try to make some sense of this nonsensical insanity. I thinks I know. Alright everybody, I got it after looking it up. So, goes around the alternator down there. Top side of the belt goes over the around the idler, over the new water pump, over the power steering, over the air conditioner, down around the crankshaft, and back and up over the tensioner. So, as it is getting dark, we are going to pick this up tomorrow. Of course, there's really not much left aside from putting some coolant in it and putting the air box or air tube for the air box back on. Of course, the throttle body is completely spring loaded, so there's absolutely no possibility of anything getting in there. And it looks like the air filter is fine. So I think what I will do tonight is maybe put a little coolant in there. That way it can kind of chug itself through. And we will pick this up tomorrow when there is light to do so. Okay everyone, here we are. It is the next evening, and you know what? I swear I have lost an hour and a half of daylight in the last 2 weeks alone. It is maybe close to 7, and as you can see, very, very bottom of the treetops is the sun. I mean, it was like 7:15 even yesterday when the sun was halfway up the tree line. So, anyone want to explain that to me? I don't get it. I don't know what's going on, but I'm losing light fast. So here we are. We are going to hammer on my charger right here while there is still light. Now, during the day here, on my brakes, I came out here, I took off the coolant storage tank, took it off completely, cleaned it. This is not hard to get off. You basically move this tab out of the way so you can pull the steering reservoir out. And then you got one bolt there and one bolt there, one clamp there, and another one further down, but you can get to that one when you pull the tank up and out. So I did that so I can clean that tank, get some of the gunk out of there. As you can see, in the previous, or I shouldn't say previous, in the earlier video, previously in the video, you saw how filthy dirty the coolant was. As we are here tonight, again, we saw here, let me get my light down here. So we got the belt around the alternator, and again around the idler and the water pump, power steering, air conditioning, crankshaft way down there, and around the tensioner there. So she is taut. Now, I also took out that little plug that's right there in the front. That is this plug here. I put the Teflon tape on it on myself. I don't have any liquid tape, but the Teflon should be just fine. That plug that fits in there, that is the breather, so I can bleed the cooling system. As I said last night, I was going to put some coolant in there. I didn't do it. I did it today after I cleaned out the purge tank. I opened this up and I started putting some coolant in there. So far I have just under 2 gallons of coolant. I got one here that's got maybe a pint, maybe close to a quart left. And we are going to take this and get it in there. And when we start hearing the bubbling, we know that the coolant is getting towards the bleed valve there. And most people have said that when you see coolant pouring out of there, that's it. It's purged. Put the bleed screw back in. However, when I did it earlier, I did hear the air gurgling out and I did see some coolant coming out. But then I put my finger over it, which allowed for a repurge because it caught the air and started to pump more air out instead of the coolant that was coming out of it. So let's go ahead here and take a watch there of that bleeder. I'm going to go ahead and open up the coolant here. And yes, this coolant is from my local home goods, home repair store. The one thing about different vehicles now, unlike way back in the past, all cars use the same coolant. That's not the case anymore. Certain cars use certain kinds of coolant. This, however, for all makes, models, and colors of antifreeze. So, in the case that you're not sure, you don't know, and you just don't have a way to find out, you can always use a universal antifreeze like I did with this. This is mixed 50-50. Now, I do live in the horrible, cold state of Minnesota, and because of that, it's got to be mixed. Now, is it mixed down to where, you know, where it could be? Here's the, you know, the kind of the guide on the back here. No, it could probably be mixed better for such a cold winter state, but it also gets super hot. So I have always just mixed my coolant 50-50, and the only time I ever had a problem is when it got down to about 50 below zero, my coolant started to freeze. It took some time to thaw it out, of course, but it was roughly 50 below, and that rarely happens. It does get to about 40 below, but I always mix at 50-50. Now, what we're going to be looking and listening for is air gurgling out and coolant bubbling out. There we go. We already got some coming out. So I put my thumb there. See if it wants to back feed it all. Nope. Still coming out. Okay. So that is good enough. Now we're gonna take the bleeder screw, and we're going to thread that back in. That is a 10 millimeter or 5/16 hex. I think this is a 10. I know it's supposed to be like a 10 or 11. And another reason that I put the Teflon tape on here, alright, that's tight. The other reason I put the Teflon tape is because most of those bleeder screws have thread lock on them, and that again is for sealing purpose. Now, that's tight, it's not leaking. Everything else is in place except for the air tube that goes right there. You can see down in the reservoir how dirty, or I should say now stained, it is. But it's got coolant in there. And on the side it has the max fill. So cold fill, max, right where that line is. And if we look down in there, we're actually probably above that line, which is not that big of a deal. So we're going to leave it right there. Yeah. Judging from where my finger is to where the coolant is, I'm a little bit overfilled. That is not a problem whatsoever. We're going to go ahead and get the radiator cap back on. Standard, I believe. Yeah, oh, this is an 18-pound cap that's on here. I was going to say usually it's a standard 16. Actually, I'm going to leave this off because I'm going to start the car. I want to see if this goes down at all. So, one last step is to connect the air pipe. So we can press that on like that. Press that on like that. Now I already connected that when you guys weren't looking. The air pipe is on. Let's go ahead and get that snug. Otherwise you might pop a code from having an incorrect air mixture. Although it doesn't look like this car has anything in front of the throttle body other than that, which is probably actually possibly air temperature. But some older vehicles have a sensor right here which measures airflow, and if you get air behind it, it does cause problems in the measurements. All right. That's nice and snug. Oh, looks like my neighbor just got home. My neighbor's a Chevy guy. I used to be a Chevy guy about 30 years ago. Actually, I still am kind of, at least in my DNA. But I like them all, Chevy, Ford, Dodge. Just depends on the make of the model of the make. Okay, there we go. So, upper radiator hose on, lower is on somewhere down there. There we go. There's lower. And water pump's on, idler's on, tensioner's on, air intake is on. We are on and ready. Let's get her started and see how it works. All right. Yeah, I've already done my oil change, but I can't seem to get that to turn off. There's a sequence you need to go through, and I've tried it, and I can't get the sequence to change. So, this stupid thing needs to be, I don't know why it's being so hard. What I'm trying to do, guys, is get to the temperature gauge. I just had it. There we go. Sometimes I don't even remember how to use all my functions in here. So right now it's at 77 degrees. And since it's about 65 here, outside air temp, probably take a minute. Got a lot of bubbles coming up, but the coolant level is still the same. So let's definitely not hearing any noise. Now all this extra coolant and all this stuff that is spilled will get washed off and will evaporate. So, but I'm not hearing the noise anymore. The belt is riding along all the right ribs. Oh, let's put some heat into her. Now, I'm not exactly pleased with Chrysler on this one, but in park, the Charger has a rev limiter. It will not go, what is it? Yeah, it will not go above 4. Actually, that's 3,800. So we got a new thermostat, new water pump, new coolant. Thermostat is a factory OEM temperature thermostat, which is 203 degrees. I could have dropped down to a 180, but for a lot of these newer cars that require a specific temperature to run properly, I decided to just go with the factory 203. On an older car like my Thunderbird or Mustang, yeah, I'm gonna stay around a 180 on that. But the newer cars, I'm definitely gonna make sure I'm at the recommended running operating temperature. When you start messing with that, you start messing with the tuning. Alright, so I'm not going to sit here and make you guys watch the temperature rise the whole way. I will come back when it is at operating temperature. Alright, here we go. We are at 204. 1 degree above the thermostat opening, so the thermostat should now be open completely. And as I have let off the throttle, car is sitting idling, going up to 206. The fans are on and running. I do not see any leaks here at the thermostat housing. I don't see any leaks down at the bottom hose. And I don't see any leaks around the new water pump. And I don't see any leaks at the junction for the transfer tube there. So, everything being equal, and yeah, there's some mess here, and this engine's got to be cleaned. But the point was to get a working water pump, and that has been achieved. Let's check the inside temperature. Sitting at 208. It is a little bit warmer than it should be, but the car is also just sitting here idling. So I'm going to let it sit and idle and see if it gets any hotter or any cooler. And I am going to say that is that for tonight, guys, girls. Well, that appears to be a successful fix on the water pump. Did it take longer and a bigger frustration than it should have been? Yeah. But it got done, and that's what matters. Now, as usual, not everything is always going to work the way it's supposed to. I myself am a walking example of Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong all the time. But that doesn't stop me, because there are days that I feel like just kicking Murphy in the balls, and I keep trudging on. And on that note, it is time to call it a night. I thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, comment, turn on notifications. Tell your friends about the crazy guy that likes working on cars, me, and say check him out. I got more stuff coming, believe me, there is more stuff coming. I know there's a Thunderbird sitting here, and there's a Mustang over on the other side. And the reason I haven't gotten to those, well, that's easy. When your dailies start breaking, they take precedence over everything else. So I have my dailies that I have to work on before I can work on my fun. Now I'm getting closer. I still have a handful of odds and ends to tie up on the Charger and on my Ram, and this mess of metal here, the bane of my existence, my Mitsubishi. But it's almost done. I'm actually going to be taking it off the stands, putting it on the ground, and there's probably like a hour worth of little dicky-doos to tie up. And once that's all done, all that's really left is the exhaust and the brakes. Now, I think I can probably spend like $100 for new front brakes and pads and a new section of exhaust flex. And that'll be it, honestly. I mean, I could do the rears, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to spend all that. I don't know if I want to spend 200 over 100. The more money I keep dumping into this, the less I'm going to get back out of it, because I'm putting money in to make it saleable, but my sale price isn't increasing. It's going to stay the same. So I'm losing money every time I put money into it. But, you know, I guess sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get things handled. But I think I'm probably going to put new front brakes in at least, and that exhaust section, not tonight, not tomorrow, soon. But I should be able to at least get the odds and ends tied up and the car off and on the road to at least test drive it, and we'll go from there. So, have a good night, everybody, and I will see all you guys in the next video.